What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we have some brand spankin' new Destiny 2 news. Now that's because the Bungie weekly update has just been released, detailing a bunch of new official information. And so, let's get started. There's a lot of actual new news today about what's going to come in the future of Destiny 2. But the biggest news for this week was that the PC version of Destiny 2 launched and launched pretty successfully. There was a slight issue with a lot of players being banned actually, and that's because the Destiny 2 PC version doesn't allow you to use essentially third-party applications that mess with the in-game code, so you can't have third-party apps that introduce new interfaces, like even something like an FPS counter on screen is going to have to mess with the game's code, so that's not allowed, and some players were banned when maybe they shouldn't be. They were just trying to use these in-game apps. Bungie did address it. They're reversing a lot of the bans. Hopefully they can get that fixed as soon as possible for anyone that was affected. But for the vast majority of players, it went off well, and I've got to admit, I've been playing the PC version. It feels good, like just going from the console to the PC, having that basically uncapped frame rate, having those better graphics, and mouse and keyboard feels pretty crisp. They took away like all of the recoil for guns in PC. I swear, it is so easy. Just point your cruiser over an enemy with an auto rifle, hold the mouse button down, and you just pinpoint accuracy take someone down. It's insane. And because of mouse and keyboard, and because of the different nature of how you aim and so on with that different set of devices, there's actually kind of a new meta in the PC version. Like if you play the Crucible and you play it on the PS4 and then you go to the PC and play the Crucible, you're gonna find people using totally different guns. In the PC, hand cannons are so much more relevant there. The hand cannons are just everywhere, whereas on the PlayStation 4, on the Xbox One, they are much smaller chunks of the usage pie. So that's actually really interesting that if you go to these different systems, you're gonna find completely different metas. In any event, if you are a PC player who has just joined the channel, welcome, and I would highly recommend going through the backlog of videos. There's so many different useful guides that will help your journey out. Now, moving on, for all players, we have again information on what's going to come to Destiny 2. Because although the first part of the game is super fun and PC players are likely having a blast, they're likely going to run into the same wall that a lot of other players ran into, where the end game is really lacking. That is the overarching complaint from the vast majority of players. So, what has Bungie done to address this? Well, firstly, Season 2 is on its way, and it's going to introduce a bunch of new gear and lifestyle improvements for Destiny 2. In fact, Bungie released some of the new armor sets, the high quality images of the new armor sets coming to, firstly, the Dawning, which is going to be Destiny 2's first live event that's going to be happening around Christmas time, and also for the new set of Iron Banner Season 2 gear. This gear will also have ornaments, a new thing to Destiny 2 at least, where you can unlock special glowing parts of your, gauntlets. For example, in Destiny 1, ornaments would have glowing horns added to the helmets and so on, and these ornaments are unlocked through playing the game, through in-game challenges like going flawless in Trials of Osiris, winning with a certain KD in Iron Banner, and so on. So that is an improvement to allow players to spend more time playing the game. But today, Game Director Christopher Barrett, the person responsible for bringing new ways to play in the House of Wolves and the Rise of Iron. House of Wolves was hecka underrated, let me tell you that. It added Trials of Osiris, it added the Etheric Light, it added a bunch of really interesting changes to the game and really improved a lot of the dynamics. But he went into an actual just bullet point list of so many things that Bungie is looking to implement into Destiny 2. So let's go over all of them. First off, new systems and rewards to give our most engaged players additional optional pursuits. This has been asked for a very long time. People that just do the raid a ton, do raid carries for example, they wanted additional ornaments or even just shaders or emblems that you get for getting 50 raid completions, 100 raid completions, stuff that is cosmetic but will award the most elite players. I don't see anything wrong with that. Bungie took it a little too seriously and made the entire prestige raid cosmetic only, and that was a problem. But hopefully these kind of things can be added and improved upon, because I know the hardcore players really want something to work towards. Secondly, better incentives for players who complete challenging prestige activities. Yes, I hope they're talking about the raid. No raid weapons exclusive to prestige mode absolutely killed most players' interest, and the prestige nightfall, after you do it a few times, really isn't worth doing again. We'd also love to see more prestige activities. Prestige lost sectors, for example, would be a great idea. So better rewards, exclusive rewards, let's hope those come up. And speaking of, we have the third point being better rewards and replay value for strikes, adventures, and lost sectors. So just like I said, introducing a prestige version of lost sectors, of adventures even, and then having exclusive rewards tied to those events, even if you just have a lost sector weapon set that you can randomly get from any lost sector. You have that, and interest in lost sectors skyrockets. So let's hope that's what Bungie is thinking about. And this is all good news. 3 points in, and this is all fantastic stuff that the community has been asking for. So that's very, very good. Moving on to point number 4. Private matches for the competitive community. In brackets, we are targeting early 2018. Frankly, private matches should have been here with the beginning, with the launch of the game, for goodness sakes. It's private matches, but they're coming soon, which is at least is good news. Moving on from there, Crucible tuning, like adjusted supremacy scoring and better spawning rules. Playing Iron Banner in Control, the spawns are absolutely horrendous. Like, there's gameplay out there of people getting spawn killed 3, 4, 5 times in a row. Like, it was absurd. So Bungie better fix this, or just Iron Banner's not going to be as fun as it should be. Moving on from there, next point is better incentives for completing Crucible matches, in brackets, and penalties for quitting competitive games. I like both of those things. Actual Crucible rewards that are good and competitive in the Crucible that will hopefully make people more engaged in the PvP aspects. They're just kind of lacks that IS Luna, like in Destiny 1, where everyone was going after the Matador, everyone was going after the IS Luna, and Destiny 2 kind of lacks that real heavy hitter gun that everyone's trying to play the Crucible to get to help them do better in the Crucible. And penalty for players quitting, I am 100% in favor of that. It sucks so much when you matchmake with, one friend or solo and then half your team quits in 30 seconds. Like, it's ridiculous. Now the next point is continued improvements to Iron Banner and faction rallies, including uniqueness of rewards. That's what I want to hear. Uniqueness of rewards is very promising. The fact that I even said this instead of just saying we're improving them both is very, very good. Hopefully they're thinking of doing things like having weapons and armor with exclusive Iron Banner or faction rally perks. The armor especially is extremely lackluster and kind of boring in Destiny 2. I would love to have perks exclusive to Dead Orbit, to Future War Cult. That would be really, really cool. The weapons as well. And in addition to that, uniqueness may also mean for the weapons having them in rare or potentially new weapon archetypes. The archetypes of weaponry is broken down into the damage and rate of fire. Like for auto rifles, you have the 600 rounds per minute ones, you have the slower 450 rounds per minute ones, and then you have the fastest 720, I believe, rounds per minute ones. Let's have a 700, let's have a 500, let's have a 300, let's have some more diversity in those weapon archetypes, and that doesn't just apply to auto rifles, it applies to everything in game. Next up, we have the point changes to make the mod economy more interesting and impactful. Mods were kind of a surprise when I first started playing Destiny 2. They didn't talk too much about it, and they were very unintuitive. But once you got a hold of them, yeah, you can use mods to change your playstyle, change your build somewhat. But they are somewhat of a missed opportunity. It's very, very encouraging that they are saying that. They're saying we are going to go back, rethink mods, introduce new mods, improve the mod system. That's what Destiny 2 needs to really help impact armor especially. Armor, again, is very lackluster. Mods could really spice things up. Moving on from there, the next point is ongoing improvements to exotics, including adjustments to reduce instances of duplication. Very good to hear there. Nothing more needs to be said. Moving on from there, new ways to spend surplus currency and materials. Looking at you, legendary shards. Great. Like, legendary shards really are, like, a lot of players have thousands of legendary shards. They aren't being used for very much. Something to spend legendary shards in, and even stuff like Glimmer, you eventually kind of stop needing that once you stop infusing armor and so on. That would be great. And lastly, an emote interface that allows players to equip salty, spicy ramen, 6-shooter, and flip out all at the same time. Thank goodness. This has been asked for so long. Like, why can we only have one custom emote? This is going to be awesome when that is introduced, because Destiny 2 does have a lot of really funny, really fun emotes that, again, it kind of sucks you can only have one at a time. You come across the perfect scenario for a slow clap, and you can't even do it because you don't have it equipped. So that is good news. They also just say, there's more we're working on, we'll talk again soon. So that was the brunt, I would say, of today's weekly update. Is that big list of things Bungie's planning to introduce? Great. Like, honestly, a lot of those things are absolutely fantastic. We don't know what actually specifically they're going to change, they're going to improve, they're going to introduce to address these different points. But, like, better incentives for players who complete challenging prestige activities. In my mind, they're saying, we know the prestige raid was bollocks. Like, we know it wasn't very good. We know we didn't have enough incentives for players to do it. Next time, and addressing the current one as well, they could always go back and update Leviathan, but the next raid especially hopefully has much better incentives. That would be great news. Now, they could introduce just more shaders, right? They could be not enough, but right now, the fact that they're hitting on so many points that the community have been bringing up and asking them to fix, this is good news. This is good news. It keeps me hopeful. Obviously, the argument of you shouldn't have made these mistakes in the first place comes up. I know, but let's not live in the world of hypothetical. Let's just deal with the here and now. And here and now, I'm very impressed with this list. Hopefully, Bungie, you can improve Destiny 2 to what it could and should have been. Now, moving on from there, speaking of changes to Destiny 2, we have one coming very soon. Next week, in fact, patch 1.0.6 will hit Destiny 2. Here's what it does. In terms of general changes, firstly, they fixed an issue with collision detection on the bureaucratic walk emote. That's what caused trials to be cancelled for 2 weeks. People could clip and hide in any wall pretty much, so they fixed that finally. Next up, we have fixed an issue causing players to encounter empty public spaces too often in free roam. Finally! It is so annoying when you go to a public event area and no one's there. Like, it seems like solo players just don't get match made, so if they can improve that, I am so happy to hear that. Moving on from there, there's a lot of Crucible changes as well. Firstly, they updated the Mercy rule to allow Mercy to activate slightly later in the match, allowing a wider range of scores to trigger it. Thank goodness, like, it was ridiculous to be beating a team like 70 to 15 in Control and Mercy wouldn't activate because just barely you missed the score difference to trigger it, but you were stomping the enemy team and it just wasn't fun for anyone. So Mercy triggering more often, you know, when you're just stomping the enemy team makes a ton of sense. Next up, for Clash, they reduced the score limit to 50 was 75, so Clash matches should be faster. Next up, Control. Reduced the score limit to 90 from 100, and they reduced influence that enemy-controlled zones exert over the spawning system. Anything to alter and improve the control spawns, I am 100% in favor of. Next up, for Survival. Reduced round time limit to 2 minutes, down from 3. Survival games could take a very long time if you are winning back and forth, so that's probably a good thing. And they reduced the life count to 6 down from 8. Another big change there. And lastly, for Supremacy, they increased the score to win to 70, up from 50, and they now grant 1 point for defeating an enemy guardian. So when you kill a guardian, you get 1 point, then you get the tag, you get additional points. So that's how it's going to work now. And they adjusted the influence that enemy crests have on the spawning system. So hopefully improved the Supremacy spawns as well. Guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed and found it informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.